This is Frankie Aberzino with the Scoop News, and this is in regards to some interesting information that's come out on Frank Bybee. This is the deputy that was arrested last week. He was given the perp walk by Knight, and Knight had this video conference, or not video conference, he had a press conference where that you're seeing on the screen right now. Frank, his picture's up to the top. Here's the issue. Lyons wrote this pretty rather interesting article. Tom Lyons, he's a columnist out of the Herald. I encourage you to go there and look for it. To find it, just Google Lyons, Lyons, Sheriff's damning words about deputy. Basically, he put a lot of stuff out there that I wasn't aware of, and which would have made me think twice before doing the perp walk and doing this call. And I'm wondering what's going on, like Lyons is, if all this information is accurate. So basically, what they're saying is, Knight came out. He said, we got this this elderly lady. I think she was 79. She had some mental issues. She said that Bybee had taken her money and tried to kill her and make it look like a suicide. And everybody's like, wow, all this information Knight's putting out is just, it's amazing. Could this really happen? And, you know, Knight was there. He flat out called him a criminal, said his crimes were heinous. He did the perp walk, which I had put the video out. And you got to think that all this is accurate, because before Knight or anybody else will make an arrest, they're going to have all their ducks in a row. I should have known better, because I have a good prominent friend here in Venice that the same thing was done to, and all charges were dropped because they were frivolous. They were uncalled for, and it's cost them untold amounts of money and humiliation within the community. So what happened is, basically, you got this victim, this elderly lady. She says that she was assaulted in her home. Okay. Keep in mind, this is an elderly lady that has been Baker acted multiple times. All right. And I first heard that and I thought, okay, so she's been Baker acted multiple times. Okay, I get that. But something I didn't know about are these texts that Lyons covered. And he basically said that she wrote several mini texts to Bybee, that's a deputy, prior to the arrest. And she basically said she doesn't see how anyone would solidly believe a word that Bybee would say. She said that in her text. She had moments of anger, bizarre actions, or text, and what Lyons referred to as manipulative behavior. And she basically would text him in a bizarre manner. According to Lyons, the text went from warm to appreciative to demanding to insulting to hostile, all over the place. And, you know, she did this a lot, I guess, to Bybee. And one thing that didn't come out that I wasn't aware of is she offered Bybee in text several times money. And in those very same texts, Bybee, this deputy, refused the money. Or at least that's what he did in text. But you got to go by that. You know, text is better than word of mouth. He's got an attorney, Charles Britt. He came out and said that his client only accepted 2 checks. And he said one was the veterinary's bill. That covered the cost of taking care of her dog. And in the text, this is something else that Knight didn't present. He said in the text she could no longer care for the animal during all these medical and psychiatric treatments, and so she urged him to keep the dog. Yet it came out as though he took the dog and sold it, but that's not what the text said. Interesting, isn't it? I mean, this would Knight up on the screen. You know, Venice High School graduate. I know the guy. He's made it seem like Bybee took her dog. The other check was handling car repairs and covering the cost to go out and run errands for him. He said the checks came to about $1,000, which Bybee later wrote in text again back to the woman, returning the money. And this was prior to any accusations coming up. You never heard about that, did you guys? Knight says that the deputy was just after money. But a key piece of the evidence was that they intercepted envelopes with his fingerprints on it, Bybee's fingerprints on it. And but if you look at it, and there were 3 checks in there coming to like $65,000, but one of the checks had Bybee's fingerprints on. That's the key piece of evidence. But this elderly lady insists that she didn't write the checks, but also that she had no desire to give money to the Bybee or his family. But that's not what the checks say repeatedly. which was rather interesting. And I don't know how Lyons got these texts, but there's even more interesting stuff that came out about this. Bybee frequently told her to stop offering him money, that he's not interested in her money. Basically, something else that came out is that she was mad at a nurse for being there. She could barely get out of her chair, so she needed this nurse. She got mad at Bybee for sending the nurse over. And so we obviously got someone that's pretty damn unstable. And when the key evidence, besides this little fingerprint on the envelope, which anybody could have done if Bybee was at her house, when the key piece of evidence is he said versus she said, and this lady's got this history, you got to stop and think twice. Okay? And I just don't know if the fingerprint was enough. But there's even more. There were also suicide notes via email from this lady. A neighbor, I guess, went over to her garage. Well, we'll skip that part. But there was even suicide notes from this lady. You know, and allegedly they had this damning fact that Bybee had refused to answer investigators' questions. That's another thing. Knight said, oh, he didn't answer our questions. But I guess it's come out that he was answering questions at great length and stopped when they arrested him and put the handcuffs on him, which anybody would do. I would. As soon as you arrest me, I'm luring up. And that's the smart thing to do. And here's another key piece of evidence that nobody introduced that I never heard. Bybee already suspected that Sheriff Tom Knight had him on a bad employee list because Bybee filed a lawsuit against Knight, which is still pending out there. Now, if you look at all this together, was some fingerprints on an envelope enough to perp walk this guy, to humiliate this guy, to arrest this guy? I got to tell you, I'm not an attorney, but I did stay at the Holiday Inn last night. And I don't think there's enough here. I think you got a lady that's been Baker acted that is not of sound mind. She says that Bybee did this stuff, but she's shown through text, through writing, that she's not mentally there and can create some wow-hoo stories out there against Bybee, who's an 18-year professional. And I tell you what, if it comes out that he gets off of this, I sure hope he goes after the county and Mr. Knight, because from what I'm seeing, I got to agree with Lyons. I don't know if there's enough here to say that this guy is guilty, and perhaps they should have looked even more into it. So I encourage you to go to Tom Lyons' article, read it all, and it was pretty interesting research. And that's what I like. Instead of just coming out with a story and putting it out there, which is essentially fake news, why not investigate it first, like Tom Lyons did, and come out with all the facts? He's given us facts from both sides, which gives you a clearer picture of the story. This has been Frankie Abbruzzino with The Scoop.